We're probably not going to come on to a 15-minute mark. I love his intro, though.
Yeah, me too.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
You know those 2-minute clips that I play? I got the inspiration from Clyde.
Oh, yeah.
He does the 2-minute clips.
give up,
That's good.
Yeah.
give up, give up.
And I think he's going to be playing the Alex Jones DMT remix in part of him. So I saw a meme that said, so if I skip the first, second, and third one and I get the fourth one, am I good? Or do I have to get the first, second, and third one too?
And this
That's funny.
is Ground Zero. Numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. As you may already know, I do a lot of research for shows in the future because I want to be able to have a modicum of interest or a modicum of knowledge about what I'm talking about before I start talking about it. And if I don't, I'm sure there are plenty of callers out there that could correct me, or at least tell me where I'm wrong, or tell me where I may not understand certain things. And many people have been writing me saying, say, what are you going to do the Krampus show? I'll do a Krampus show for sure. But as I was studying for the Krampus show, because I wanted to find some other angles, I fell upon a very, very interesting subject. And it's something that I've talked about before, but never have I been so interested in both the Norwegian, Icelandic mythologies regarding elves, gnomes, creatures that certainly are part of the fairy folklore. Krampus, of course, is included. Santa Claus is included there. But the idea of the Tomta, the Nis, and other groups that are considered these gnomes or these dwarves that that can harm people. And not only that, but the troll hags that are talked about that used to show up at farms.
I've seen those in our chat.
Hold black mass. And give these tinctures to farmers to fool them into marrying them, giving them beauty. So when they see them, they see these beautiful entities. Well, as I was reading on and developing some sort of an idea, some sort of an angle or whatever, I ran into this story about how psychiatrists now and other doctors are thinking about using. Well, they're already using. Not hallucinogens, using psychedelics in their treatment of people who have depression and other problems, bipolar disorders. And I got to reading more about DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, which is a natural occurring substance in mammalian brains. It comes from the pineal gland.
Cool. I didn't know if it was going to go.
Most people, and as I was reading this, a lot of people, when they take this,
I didn't know
DMT,
if it was going to go down the road
there's
of
ayahuasca, there's DMT and other things there.
Elves,
people
like
say
physical,
that when
DMT?
they get through what is known as the
DMT-based.
breakthrough
Cool.
period in their trip, that they have contact with these beings called machine elves, or elves that seem autonomous, existing in a reality separate from our own. So the form and nature of DMT elves vary in reports, but one thing remains curiously constant. People tend to rank these encounters among the most meaningful experiences of their lives. Now, for some people, these encounters change their beliefs about reality, the existence of afterlife, God, etc. A recent survey, and this is what I found interesting, a recent survey provides some of the most detailed information about these encounters. It was published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology. And the survey includes responses from 2,561 adults about their single most memorable encounter with being or beings after smoking or vaping DMT. Now, it's an endogenous chemical. The body produces it naturally, DMT, but it's currently a Schedule I drug in the United States. Now, most respondents had used DMT about a dozen times in their life. The survey excluded experiences in which people consumed other drugs with DMT, and it didn't include experiences with ayahuasca, which is a brew that contains DMT. Now, people described when they were having their trips, they described these entities in different ways. The most commonly chosen labels were beings, guides, spirit, alien, helper. Other labels selected by proportions of the respondents included terms like elf, angel, religious personage, plant spirit, very few reporting terms like gnome, monster, or ghost. But when asked about the attributes of the entity, a majority of the sample reported that the entity was conscious, intelligent, benevolent, scared, had agency in the world, and was positively judgmental. Fewer reported that the entity was potentially negatively judgmental or malicious. About 2/3 of the respondents said that they received a message or a task or mission or purpose or insight from the entity encounter experience. So what kinds of messages are these machine elves talking about, are these entities? Some people were shown that death isn't the end, that everything and everyone is connected. Others had personal insights revealed to them, such as bad behaviors that they should stop. About 1/4 of the respondents said that they were atheists before their encounter, but only 10% said that they became atheists after their encounter. So additionally, there's approximately 1/3 of the respondents reported that before the encounter, their belief system included a belief in ultimate reality, a higher power, God, or universal divinity. But a significantly larger percentage of respondents reported that this belief system has now, it's changed a bit. 89% of the respondents said that the encounter led to lasting improvements in well-being and life satisfaction. Why? Well, the researchers suggested that this ontological shock, the state of being forced to question your worldview, may play an important role in the enduring positive life changes in attitudes, moods, and behavior attributed to these experiences. So the study was amazing. It was fascinating to me because it also noted that DMT encounters have a lot in common with near-death experiences, alien abduction experiences, which also have been shown to produce long-lasting changes in personal beliefs. We've talked with people before who have had abduction experiences or near-death experiences, and it has opened their eyes to a bigger picture. So, do DMT entities actually exist in some other dimension, or are they hallucinations that the brain generates when its visual processing system is overwhelmed by powerful tryptamine? There was an ethnobotanist named Terence McKenna, and he appeared on Art Bell. He's passed away now, but he appeared on Art Bell many times. I remember listening to him. And he believed that DMT beings, which he called the machine elves, were very real. And this is how he described it. And then we'll go to break and we'll go to our guest. He says, I sank to the floor. I experienced this hallucination of tumbling forward into these fractal geometric spaces made of light. And then I found myself in the equivalent of the Pope's private chapel, and there were insect elf machines proffering strange little tablets with strange writing on them. And as I was aghast, completely appalled, because in a matter of seconds, my entire expectation of the nature of the world was just being shredded in front of me. And I've never really gotten over it. So these self-transforming elf creatures are speaking in languages. Rotating machines were speaking in colors and scents and everything. So McKenna believed the machine elves existed in alternate realities in an active universe that our body opens up to when we're on psychedelics like DMT. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. We have
much love, Soda. Thank you.
That are coming up,
thank you,
and we'll
Soda.
tell you who they are coming up too. So
Like
don't go
her
away.
YouTube.
Keep it here on Ground Zero.
That was a brilliant intro.
That was
oh
a
my
brilliant
God!
intro.
Yes, I'm ready for this.
Hooked up.
Because I wasn't sure if he was going to go along the lines of the Nordic stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And
I
then
was like,
tie in
no.
the elves, or if we're going to focus on DMT.
Let's focus on DMT.
We're focused on DMT.
That's great.
They're taking the DMT.
That's good.
Okay, so I don't think we hear
Hey,
the feet.
I'm Andy. If you don't
Oh.
know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's
Okay.
came out of a frustrating-
So yeah, this is going to be great. I think it's a good lead-in to talk about. Do you want to start or should I start?
No, I want you to start because this is you introduced me to DMT. So
Okay.
you need to introduce.
I'm trying to take myself
The
back
audience.
to that space. I remember when we
Remember
had
when you were telling me
Rick
about it?
Strassman on, and we had Joe Rogan on, and we used to have Dennis McKenna on all the time. When the journey was new, and there was wonder and
The enigma.
And you know, that's the thing. Everybody's always in a hurry to get to the end, but I can tell you firsthand, the end is not nearly as satisfying as the journey itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And when you lose that innocence, you know, it's gone forever. When you see beyond the veil, you can't unsee what you see. And then you kind of long for the days of when you were searching.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in one place with smart tools like Instant Match.
Chris, that is a badass shirt. Thank you, chosen one. I was gonna get it tattooed on me here. I'm gonna get this Dimitri Darko tattoo covered up or done something with.
Yeah,
because I have had some interesting DMT experiences. If you guys didn't catch out my last DJ set, check it out, because I did like a 20-minute intro where I was talking about some recent revelations and kind of the new journey and path that we find ourselves on, that everything is okay. Everything is going exactly the way it's supposed to go. And it took a little while for things to process, but realistically, what happened? We went to Egypt May of 2018 to reset the Matrix. That's taking 4 years and 7 months to complete. And that's going to end in December 2022. So the work that we did on 11/11 and on 12/21, that's going to take some time.
Right.
So I came back disappointed that I didn't see an instant result.
Right.
But I've realized, no, we did everything right. Everything is going as planned. It's wonderful. There's a whole new understanding of the Matrix, the different dimensions and so on and so forth that we'll have to be covering in the very near future on patreon.com/BTV Tribe. But right now I'm trying to take it back to that first state where we were when we
first got together.
And that
went to go see
newness and the wonder and the wow. Did you see that?
Remember when
he mentioned aliens, he mentioned greys.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when we saw the greys and they were mad and they were pissed off and they were cussing us out?
Yep.
Yeah.
We got off on the wrong floor.
That
day.
Yeah.
We've had simultaneous experiences too, which is incredible when it happens.
That's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want.
Just one,
don't
you know.
throw away your money
Not
on
get into
maintenance
hyperspace,
fees.
but just dip my
Use it for
toes
things you
in.
really want.
Get
We can
that
help you end your
fuzziness
timeshare contract
around the
and
edges.
stop the money drain immediately.
Yeah.
If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our
The energies
team
have been rough,
right
ladies
now.
and gentlemen. I know you guys and gals are feeling it too.
Yeah, they've been very rough lately. Extremely.
So I was reading through this survey and learning about machine elves and Terence McKenna and all this. There were two people that came to mind. As soon as I started reading this, I had Chris and Cherie Gio. And they have been exploring the outermost depths of consciousness for 13 years, following the footsteps of people like Alan Watt, Ram Dass, Timothy Leary, Terence McKenna, others like them. And they're trying to find answers to the age-old question, why are we here? And the question of where are we heading? They always talk about these types of things, about the metaverse and reality and all this. They host Beyond the Veil. And they are the founders of IALife. That's IALife. That's AYALife.com. And so I want to welcome to the show again, Chris and Cherie Gio. Welcome you guys to the show.
Thank you very much for having us back on, Clyde. It's always a pleasure. And this is, I got to say, this is my absolute favorite topic.
Yeah.
I love talking about DMT experiences. It takes me all the way back to the beginning of the journey when it was still that seeking. You know, once you see beyond the veil, you can't unsee what you see. But I remember that time when I was still searching, and it's bringing up all those feelings. So thank you for doing that.
So let's talk here about what got me into reading about this stuff was the idea of bringing psychedelics back into treatment for depression and for other problems that people may have. And this has been a topic that many people have been, it's a controversial topic. When you start talking about things like DMT and they're very, I mean, LSD and things. For some people, those are very scary, letters that we put together, DMT and LSD. But what we don't talk about is how DMT is naturally made in the pineal gland. Now, tell me about, to those who don't know what it is, tell us about what DMT is, because a lot of people, what are you talking about? DMT, never heard of it. Tell us about what DMT is.
Well, first of all, your monologue was just excellent.
Amazing. Yeah.
Dimethyltryptamine is what I would call the connection between every living thing out there. It's produced, like you said, by our pineal. We had Rick Strassman on many years ago, and his analysis is that it actually comes from the lungs and is processed by the pineal gland. Rick Strassman had a 7-year license to study DMT and wrote a book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And in that book, he documents a lot of his participants' experiences into going into these other worlds, and they were coming back and they were sharing similar stories about going to the same places. And at first he started to think, well, people are just saying they're going somewhere, but it's really all subjective experiences. Then by the end of it, he had to come to the conclusion that these are objective experiences, that people are actually going to some place, because everybody's coming back insisting, no, this wasn't a hallucination. This is an actual physical space or ethereal space that we're traveling to. So DMT can be found in toads, it can be found in flowers, it can be found in plants. Like you mentioned, the ayahuasca brew itself contains 2 plants. It contains the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna being the DMT-containing plant. So you find DMT everywhere, and everybody releases a little bit of DMT when they sleep. So DMT also helps to provoke dreams. They say when babies are born, at the time of birth, there's a DMT rush that the mother has and that the baby has, which creates that bond between the two. So DMT is much more than just some psychedelic or some drug that people do or anything like that. This is something very, very sacred, and I would say it is rightfully called the spirit molecule, because it puts you in touch with all of nature, with all of creation out there, and most importantly, it puts you in touch with the innermost depths of yourself, so you can ultimately know thyself.
I was getting the feeling when I was reading about it. I mean, I knew about DMT because, of course, I've heard Terence McKenna speak of it, and I've heard other people talk about it. And I remember the scary part of it, somebody compared it to parachuting into a pinball machine. And I thought, I'm not gonna get into this topic because it's just another thing. People want me to talk about mushrooms and they want me to talk about all this other stuff. But then as I was reading about this, and since Christmas is the season for elves, I started thinking to myself, well, McKenna was talking about these machine elves, and he was talking about the guides. And I know that Tracy Twyman many times would talk with me about psychopomps and how people, when they make the leap, if they go from life to death, or if they're having an out-of-body experience, or at birth, like you were saying, that this DMT is released and it puts us into that other realm, that it may be the key to traveling outside of ourselves into another realm or another space or even another universe. What do you say to that?
Rick actually wrote a book co-authored with a couple of different people, Looney Luna and a couple of others I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's called Inner Paths to Outer Space. And the whole premise of it is that outer space actually exists within us, and DMT is a vessel that helps us to go into these we're going out by going within ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. As I've worked with it throughout the years, I've started to ask myself, though, are these experiences that we're having here in our minds, are we traveling somewhere else? Or Cherie brought up a really brilliant point. Tell us that point real quick, Cherie.
I've heard from these DMT elves over and over and over again that the plants love when we eat them or ingest them, or even burning them is fine. As long as we're merging our energy with their energy, they love it. They love merging their energy with the beings on this planet that are ingesting them, because it's a form of communication to them. It's not that they're being eaten, it's that they're being transformed into more of what they already are. So I finally realized, why would they be speaking as the plants so much? It's because I think they're actually beings that live inside of the plant molecule itself. The molecule that makes up DMT is their microverse that we're visiting when we imbibe DMT.
That's interesting, because I was reading this survey. They were taking surveys on the entities and the guides they meet while on DMT. And they're saying that a lot of them, some of them are plant spirits. Mm-hmm. They come to them and say the same thing that you say, is that please ingest us, please eat us, because what we are doing is it's kind of like we have a symbiotic relationship with plants. We have a symbiotic relationship with trees and with grass and with all this, that the plants really do care about us. And that's why they basically create oxygen, and they create all these things, and they take in the carbon dioxide. And I'm just, I would like to know, it would be like, contact, if you will. I mean, everybody wants to find contact with beings out there. The other way to make contact probably would be to use this DMT. And they would have to do like a survey of everyone who had their experience and ask them, what were the entities trying to tell them? Like we just had a guy who called in and said he's had some great experiences with the entities, but lately they've been very dark, and he doesn't have an explanation for this. There are a lot of people that have had horrific experiences with it. Not many, though, according to this survey, that many people have had pretty much benevolent experiences with these entities. But they describe them in many ways. They describe them as either like elves, or they say they're like aliens. Some say they're like angels, like you were saying, they're like plant entities. And so everybody, I think, has a different experience, or they meet these different groups that are part of what Carl Jung called those archetypes are within all of us, and that getting into the unconscious mind is the trick to finding out what we do in more dream time. Because doesn't DMT get released when we sleep, and doesn't that create dreams?
It does. And if I can address that caller, because we actually did a little bit of a pre-show, and I mentioned the journey that we were on. And at the very beginning, it was all love and light, and it was all holding hands. And then we got a little tired of that, and we asked for more. And once we asked for more, that's when the experiences started to get darker. And it's almost like DMT is only going to show you as much as you're ready to learn. But if he's finding himself having these darker experiences, what I have translated that to be is now you're getting to the core of self. You're getting to your traumas. You're getting to everything that's happened to you here within the Matrix. So you might have some hidden childhood traumas you have to deal with. You might have different behavioral patterns that you're exhibiting now that you haven't let go of because you are still tethered to them in one way. I guess let me explain it like this.
We got to take a break.
Okay, but I want to finish on that on the other side, please.
Sure. Just let's rephrase, regroup. I'm hanging on every word here because I'm learning a lot tonight. I learned a lot when I was studying, and now I'm learning a lot from you, Chris and Cherie Geo, both tonight, talking about DMT, talking about the machine elves that Terence McKenna talked about, and other things, entities that people see during their trips. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
This is great. I'm loving it.
So blue, thinking about a special job each year, so bright and bright. Christmas Eve we also Santa's pie. Santa knows who's good, with the things you show. And we get you, we won't get you, we are Santa's elves. Ho, 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 we are Santa's elves.
Hospital, trash can. Sweet. Thanks, buddy.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Remember back when we were talking about the Troxler effect, where the brain basically tunes out certain things. Like right now, if you're dressed, not in bed or whatever, you're wearing socks, right? And you know you're wearing socks, but you just don't think about it all day. It's not that they're not there, but they're there. Your brain just takes for granted that it's there. But that's the Troxler effect, because the brain, in response to lack of stimuli, the brain can notice other things that get in, get out, that kind of thing, enter the stage. And sometimes you see things like an alien, or Liam was telling me the other day that he actually had been up for a couple of days, and he didn't tell me this because sometimes he doesn't sleep. He has a hard time sleeping. He said he hallucinated Hat Man. He said he saw it and he knew it was there, but he said he knew that he needed to get some sleep. So he got some sleep. But see, these aren't psychotic breaks. These are examples of how the eye and the brain sees on something. It's been there all along. And something like DMT, for example, apparently creates this psychomantium experience. Chris and Sheree Gio were with us tonight on Ground Zero talking about DMT and what is going on. What are people seeing? They're seeing these entities that Terence McKenna called machine elves. So you were saying, Chris, about you were setting it up. We had to go to the break, but tell us what you were setting up, and let's move on to the next topic through this.
Oh, for sure. As we were moving through the journey, at first it was all love and light. We were encountering machine elves. They were teaching us about ourselves. They were teaching us about the nature of reality. And finally, we wanted more. And when we asked for more, that's when the lessons really started to come in, and the experiences started to turn dark. But not dark in the sense that they were dark and scary, but dark in the sense that here's some trauma from your childhood that you need to deal with. Here's some behavioral patterns that you need to deal with. I was exhibiting some behavioral patterns and just getting triggered by certain things that I didn't even realize. And within the DMT experience, I saw these boxes, and I had a tether to my ankle, and they were tied to these boxes. And I was opening up one box, and I realized there was some childhood trauma that I hadn't dealt with and completely had forgotten about. I opened up another box. In the third box, I took a sword and just cut the tether, and I said, I don't even want to see what's in this box. Okay, all I know is that I don't want to be tied to it. So when people start to get into these places where they're having these seemingly dark experiences, in my opinion, what it is, it's your trauma and your consciousness saying, hey, there's something you have to deal with before you can move on to the next stage of this. And that's what the healing is all about. That's what the ayahuasca is all about. And a lot of times people will go down to the Amazon, heroin addicts, for example, they'll drink ayahuasca and all of a sudden they get a horrible experience, and they see and feel everything of how the people around them are feeling and how that addiction is making them act and how the other people are feeling. And they'll come back and they kick it just like that because of those experiences. So I wouldn't necessarily call them dark.
Yeah. Well, no, they're some people see them dark maybe because they don't like. It's like I was saying earlier. John Lennon once said that when he took LSD, you found out who you really are. And when I heard that, I thought, well, I don't want to know what I really am. I don't want to know what I have inside of me because there's a lot of black stuff in there. I'm sure a lot of good stuff. I mean, I consider myself a person who actually tries to be good. I'm not always thinking that I'm good. I always think that I have to try to be good every day. I have to try to find ways to be good. I have to look out for other people and look out for myself at the same time. Sometimes I don't look out for myself as much as I should. But see, that's the thing, is that what would happen if I took DMT? And somebody once said, well, I think DMT is in your brain all the time, Clyde. And I go, okay, whatever. But I'm just saying that if I were to try it, I would worry about these darker sides of me that I try to work on consciously, but deep down subconsciously, I get this idea that maybe there's some things that are unfinished. It would change me maybe, or maybe not. Maybe it would terrify me.
From my experience, like I said, it's only going to show you what you're ready for. So if you're not ready to deal with that side of yourself, I don't think it's gonna do that. It's not this cruel, judgmental teacher. Although there are some judgmental beings that when you get in that space, it's not necessarily them judging you, but it's just the realization of self, and you're like judging yourself and going, whoa, why am I acting like this? Why did I treat this person like this? Why am I holding on to this negative thing that I shouldn't be holding on to? And it's more like self-realization and looking at yourself from a third-person perspective that sometimes manifests as a being. But Sheree and I have had some shared experiences as well, though. And at the very beginning of this, when we first met way back in 2009, we were doing it every couple days for about 3 weeks at the very beginning because we were just so excited to be together. And, we were going on these journeys. And after about, 4 or 5 days, or 4 or 5 experiences, which were spread out over a couple of days, we had overdone it a little bit. And we reached this level where there were these gray aliens that appeared that had horns. And they looked at us and they were cussing us out. And they were like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. You're not supposed to be here. And I'm just sitting back, and DMT only lasts about 10 minutes. So it's very fast acting. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, it lasts about 2 or 3 hours, but the experiences are all the same. It's just the DMT experience is very compact, very fast, whereas the ayahuasca experience is the same experience, except you can process the information much quicker. I mean, much better because everything's happening slower, so you have more time. But we were in this experience, and all of a sudden we see these aliens, and they're jumping at us, cussing us out. And I look at her, and she looks at me, and she says, they were mad. And I said, what did you see? And she says, I saw these gray aliens. They had horns. They were cussing me out. They were telling me I'm in the wrong space. And I was like, that is crazy. I saw the exact same thing. So I don't know what to make of these shared experiences, but I have had those experiences.
Well,
now,
what about the idea? Okay, what about that? What it does, what ayahuasca does, or what DMT does? What if it erases the border that keeps us from looking into this reality? Like I said, it's the Troxler effect. It's the idea that our brain tunes out the paranormal, and then all of a sudden something happens. The DMT clicks in, or something clicks in from our pineal gland, and we see it. And it's like the brain short circuits, and we see these things coming through, where the borders between the veil that we're in now and the life we're in now goes into that other experience. And so you and Cherie had the experience at the same time, because what that did is that it lifted the veil in the place you were at, and you were seeing. Okay, we hear the music. I'm gonna elaborate on this some more, because it just seems to me that if you had an experience at the same time, it's the same experience, then something lifted the veil within the space you were in, and you both experienced it at the same time. And this could be the reason. It could be an even more interesting breakthrough with regard to DMT. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Christian Cherie Gio with us tonight on Ground Zero. We'll be back with more talking about DMT, the machine elves, and other things right here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
Reprogrammed in,
which is I guess you say a substance that the brain makes naturally, but when taken and ingested or vaped, it becomes a very interesting psychedelic that puts you in this realm where you're seeing geometric shapes, and you see what are known as machine elves. Some call them aliens, some call them angels or demons. Christian Cherie Gio talking to us about their experiences, and of course trying to explain to us what's going on here. So I was trying to make the experience saying that since you both have the experience at the same time, maybe it's not all into the brain. Maybe what it does is it lifts the block that we have from seeing the other worlds and the other dimensions, and that it is happening around you instead of just happening inside the brain. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it goes to show that we're all in such an interconnected universe. And this reality is so dependent on our observation of it and our interactions with it that these experiences should be seen as occurring in some reality. I think Terence McKenna pointed out that these experiences are not like typical acid trips and things like that, where where things are hazy, but you're still in the reality you were in when you started. Right. You are transported to another reality altogether, but it is a physical reality. And when you do a breakthrough dose of DMT, you're taken out of your body. If you're with someone else, when you do that, and you two are both on the same substance at roughly the same dose and on the exact same frequency, I think it has to do with frequency, being on the exact same frequency, you'll actually go to the exact same place. And I think Chris was explaining that experience. It was just incredible.
Well, I think you're spot on that it shifts the frequency. So I've often speculated that when we see UFOs, when we see ghosts, when we see shadow people, it's actually them shifting into our frequency, or our frequency changing for a small, just a split second. So you see that UFO and go, it just disappeared into thin air. It didn't actually disappear, it just shifted out of frequency. But what DMT does is I think it hyperactivates the brain. And so you can see from a broader perspective, something that's always there. And what's interesting is in the film DMT, The Spirit Molecule, done by Mitch Schultz, they actually looked at MRIs of people who had done ayahuasca and under the ayahuasca experience, and they realized that it's actually creating new neural pathways within the brain itself while it's doing the healing process. So not only is there the spiritual aspect of it, but there's also a physiological change that also happens, and they can see when you're on DMT, the brain does fire up differently and much more hyperactive than in the regular state. So
we touched on that last night a little bit about the experience of investigating people who have had UFO experiences and seeing how the brain reacts, and how there's what looks like a bridge that is created in the brain, that maybe the bridge with the DMT substance would go into the brain and you would see it. And in fact, I didn't share this with you, but a while ago I had an eye doctor appointment. And it's because I had a floater in my eye that looked like the angel of death, and then it went away. And They thought that I had to, if I had a retinal tear or something, they wanted to look into it. Well, when the doctor was flashing a huge light in my eye, it triggered an experience I had when I had 5 embolisms hit my lung. It was 5 blood clots that got into my lung, and I nearly died. And I remember the bright light. I remember it all. And for some reason, when the bright light was hitting my eyes, when he pulled away and he went into the next room, I started seeing, and this is the God's honest truth, I saw in the office where I was this beautiful field with a white picket fence leading to what looked like a cottage. It was kind of like a cabin cottage or whatever. And I saw that in the office while I was waiting for the doctor to come back and tell me about my diagnosis of my eye. So I don't know how, maybe that light thing triggered something, an out-of-body experience or something, because I know I was in my body, or I knew, but it was like I could walk down that path right there in the office to that house. So I don't know why I was hallucinating it. I don't know why I was seeing it in my mind's eye, but I was. And that had me fascinated by what we perceive and what it is we see and how it's reality or how it's hallucination or whatever it might be. And DMT just adds to this intrigue, I think.
Oh, I agree with you. And if we are correct in our analysis and gnosis of being inside of a computer simulation or simulated reality, then it's veil within veil within veil. And sometimes reality will just tear apart right in front of you. And you're seeing, just like you did, all of a sudden your frequency shifted for one reason or another, and you saw an entirely new reality right there in front of you. They used to take the people that they now call schizophrenic.
They're having experiences. People are having different experiences right now. And it all goes back to the idea of whether or not the multiverse is overlapping, and everybody's having different experiences, and they're not having the same experience. That's why we're so divided. The country is divided because we're all having different experiences. Every world power is having a different experience because there's a transition that's going on the planet where many people can't identify why they feel the way they do, why they're languishing, why they don't feel as good about themselves as they used to. It's not only because of initiate type no touch torture that they're doing to us, but there are other things involved here too. And many people have complained that after they've received the vaccine that they have felt different. It makes me question what reality we are in and what reality we're going to.
I've often speculated that too. Terence McKenna talked about the point of singularity, time wave zero, where everything that can happen will happen. And our analysis of the Matrix, as we're understanding it, is that multiverses are collapsing on one after another. And I think we talked about this on the last show, where the Mandela effect is a result of this. One universe collapses, we wake up and find ourselves in another universe. Things are a little bit different in this universe. And so we start to get these Mandela effects, and others already existed within this universe. But I think that's what Terence McKenna was talking about with time wave zero and that point of singularity that we're heading to. What happens at that point of absolute ground zero? I'm not sure, but...
and they're talking about year zero next year, because 2022 is supposed to be year zero. It's supposed to be the time where we change everything, and the whole world and the whole universe changes, and we go on to this new progression of the new normal that they want to propose. And it's more than just a government. It's more than just the idea of being part of this socialist world plantation. It's also a supernatural transition where we're going to be thinking about God differently, spirituality differently, what we are to ourselves differently because of transhumanism, panpsychism, consciousness. All these things are going to be part of our lives in the future because of the fact that science wants to find a way to make artificial intelligence have the same consciousness or even reach into the same consciousness or quantum entanglements that we have already. And this is something that's just mind-boggling. I think a lot of people don't realize how vital and important this is and how we need to hold on to whatever is left in our humanity and understand that we are a very complex creature, that are the neurofirings that happen in our brain, all these things are what make up reality. But something could snap at any moment and our reality would change completely. And this is something that, DMT, this whole idea of the elves and all this, it brings everything into perspective. Christian Cherie Gio with us tonight on Ground Zero. We're going to get to the calls because I know the calls are waiting, and I know both Chris and Cherie want to, have an interaction with you guys. Talk about these experiences, because I think we'll learn from everybody's experiences, those who have used DMT or those who have used other types of hallucinogens or psychedelics, and what their experiences are, getting down to the bottom of what reality truly is and what it may not be, right here on Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-1037, 0860. That's 503-225-0860. Fascinating show tonight. Stay tuned. We got more with Chris and Cherie Gio right here on Ground Zero.
Oh man, I can go on for hours with Clyde. He's like an encyclopedia. And I love the way he articulates things. You know, he articulates them way better than I can.
Yeah.
And even my own experiences, he's articulating them better than I can. I love that. And so, you know, sharing ideas back and forth like this is brilliant.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant show.
Yeah. I love Clyde.
Give up! Give up! Give up! Give up!
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. DMT. Many people have heard of it.
I never thought I'd hear that on
McKenna.
national radio.
Many people who've talked about this.
I remember we used to do that on GCN, and they used to get mad at us.
Psychedelic that forms in the brain and pineal gland. And what really got my attention, though, was the idea or the experience that people have when they use DMT, where they come in contact with these beings that Terence McKenna called machine elves or self-transforming machine elves. Now, are these DMT elves merely hallucinations? Question remains, why do so many people encounter similar beings and have similar experiences on DMT? Well, there's a lot of questions about their origins. Are they inhabitants of another dimension? Are they spirits or souls of past humans? Are they divine beings or angels? Or are they the byproduct of our natural tendency to pick out anthropomorphic patterns and otherwise meaningless chaos? Well, nobody knows for sure. There's been a lot of interesting attempts to catalog these beings to better understand what they are. These beings appear sentient and autonomous. They'll try to communicate with you, study you, show you different objects or locations, will sometimes even play little pranks on you to tease you. DMT machine elves have so many different names: self-transforming machine elves, clockwork elves, DMT aliens, DMT entities, fractal elves, tykes, divine beings, angels or spirits. And one of the most curious themes of these beings is that most people who encounter them agree that they have some sort of agenda, though it's not quite clear what that agenda might be. The machine elves almost always have something important to show us, but how people interpret their actions can be, well, actually, they can vary a lot. Sometimes they seem malicious. They may criticize or mock you for aspects of your personality that you're not proud of. But ultimately, this criticism is viewed as a positive catalyst for changing negative aspects of your own personality. Other times, machine elves are playful and provide constructive insights into problems we face in our personal lives or within society. It's notoriously difficult to describe the physical appearance of a machine elf because, well, for me, I haven't used DMT. Chris and Cherie Gio, though, have explored consciousness using DMT and ayahuasca, and tonight they're on the program to talk more about this topic. And, like I said, when I first stumbled onto the topic, I knew what DMT was, but a lot of people don't understand what it is. Now, all they hear is Schedule I drug, and immediately I'm sure they would tune out and say no, but a lot of people have experimented or at least used this because it's a natural occurring substance in the brain. What does one do when they want to experience this type of journey, if you will?
The best thing to do, in my opinion, is to find a shaman down in the Amazon. There's a lot of very well-respected Amazonian retreats. There's some that are scams, though, so you have to be careful about which ones you go to. Look at the reviews and things like that. There's DMT communities on Facebook where people exchange information. But I would start there because myself, as a quote-unquote shaman for all intents and purposes, geniuses. I hate calling myself that, but I would have to, before giving it to somebody, I would have to ask them several questions about themselves, their experiences, their mental history, things like that. If you have a good grasp of reality now, you're going to have a good grasp of reality in the DMT realm. If you have psychological problems, it may not be right for you. So I can't say everybody rush out and go try it. It's an individual thing. But for the majority of people out there, I think it's a wonderful tool for consciousness elevation.
Well, and as far as being scared of it because, it's a scary Schedule 1 narcotic drug, it's so benign that you could put it in the water supply for the city of Los Angeles, and the only people that you would have to worry about are people that take MAOIs. That's literally the only people you'd have to worry about, because DMT is not orally active unless you add an MAOI to it. And so even nature itself has given us this molecule that is capable of regrowing our neurons 40% faster. They've found out through this study they just did, and nature has given us this as a gift to us to use responsibly, and it's even given us instructions on how to use it responsibly by saying, okay, well, this is how you make it. And they still haven't figured out how the shaman of the Amazonian rainforest or the Egyptians figured out how to make this, but they did.
Yeah, think about this, Clyde. You have to have two different plants for the oral version. You have to have the ayahuasca vine and you have to have the chacruna. These two grow separate from each other. But if you drink the ayahuasca vine first, then that neutralizes the stomach acids, so then the DMT becomes orally active. Without that, it doesn't do anything. Your stomach acids just to eat it all away. How did the shaman figure this out? They say they got it from plant teachers, from the mushrooms and other plants.
And that's the real DMT.
Look back at the Alchemists, okay? And I was talking about these troll hags that existed in Norway and Iceland, and how they would get the farmers to fall in love with them by giving them a tincture, by giving them some sort of a poison, they called it, or some sort of a drug or hallucinogen, so they'd fall madly in love with them. They'd look beautiful. And when you look at people like John Dee and Ed Kelly, they ran an apothecary. Many of the witches ran apothecaries because they had access to tinctures and other teas and things that they could drink or smoke or do whatever. And remember, John Dee and Ed Kelly said that they had the ability to create a bridge into heaven, and they would sing Enochian keys to the angels, and they would have contact with them. Now, I would imagine that Nostradamus was also an apothecary, so I would imagine that maybe Nostradamus, Ed Kelly, John Dee, and many of these witches we hear about, they were using these tinctures, they were using these types of brews, if you will, to take flight and to go into other realms.
Oh, that's exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. And then the Catholic Church went around during the Crusades and Inquisitions, stole all of the knowledge from all the natives everywhere they went, from the Celtics to the Native Americans to the natives in Africa. I mean, it seems like everybody has a form of ayahuasca or a DMT type brew. If you go to Africa, they have a certain brand. If you go to Egypt, they have a certain concoction. If you go to the Amazon, they have a certain concoction. But all this knowledge was stolen, and I think it was hidden in the Vatican Library. Then you were told that it's witchcraft, that it's evil, while in the meantime they're using it against us.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always wondered what was in. I think they call it what do they call that can? It's a turable or something that the old medieval Latin priests used to, swing, and it had smoke coming out of it to create that experience. I guess it was an ecclesiastical experience. I don't know. That I've always wondered if there was something like something weird in there. 503-225-0862. We had Chris and Chirigio with us. We're going to get to some calls coming up on Ground Zero. Stay tuned. Tonight we talk about the machine elves on Ground Zero. They don't make cookies, and they certainly aren't making toys or helping the cobbler with shoes. These are machine elves from a DMT experience. Christian Chirigio with us tonight. We're going to phones for a little bit to talk with people who've had experiences. Let's go to Josh in California. You're on with Christian Chirigio. Go ahead.
How's it going, everyone?
Good.
I just wanted to share my DMT experience, and this is the first time I ever took DMT was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's fairly recent. And keep in mind, I've never taken any other drug, and the only thing I do now is just smoke weed, and I don't even drink, and I'm allergic to mushrooms, so this is my first time taking anything this strong ever. So the first time I took DMT, I was laying on my couch, and the first time I took a hit, I probably didn't do it the wrong way. I was super new to this and didn't hold my breath for probably more than 2 seconds, so it really didn't do anything. So the second time I took a hit, I hold my breath for a good 8 seconds, and that's when it really hit me. And it felt like my body shot out from itself, and I was having like a outer body experience, sort of experience. And I was just looking at myself, and then somehow I was just standing in almost a chapel-like hallway room with just beings around me. And the beings were like more spirited, like soul ghost-like. And I just heard voices just saying, you know, it's okay, and just come walk with us. And that's really all that I remember from that experience.
Did they give you advice or anything like that?
No, not that I remember. I mean, probably at the time, you know, when I had that experience, I probably did remember something, but at this time, I don't recall anything like that.
So there's an experience there, Christian Shree, where he had some ghostly experience, where there were like ghostly creatures rather than elf entities, like what Terence McKenna talks about. But there are different types of entities that people encounter. I mean, Carl Jung proposed the collective unconscious, basically that all members of the human species have access to a fear of consciousness beyond our individual experience. So people have experiences from what is within them. Would you agree with that?
Wholeheartedly. And like I said at the beginning of the show, DMT is going to show you what you're ready for.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like the gentleman that called in, he just needed to step out of his body for just a moment and just see and just understand there is an existence outside of here. Mm-hmm. If he pursues it and goes on even further, then more revelations will start to unfold. But the first experience that I had wasn't a mind-blowing experience or anything like that. It was really episodic, and it was really a journey. But I commend that guy for taking that step, especially using the most powerful psychedelic known to man as his first experience. Way to go. Let's go, Brandon.
Welcome to the club. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Josh, thank you so much for calling and sharing your experience with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You bet. Let's go to Chris in Kansas. Hello, Chris. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Nice to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you.
Hey, I've been listening to the program tonight, and you know, I've heard that they were going to use this on patients that have depression, and but this sounds more to me like it's an MK Ultra gain of function than anything. Once again, we're talking about experimenting on the mentally ill, and you know, these are the same people that used to stick sponges in people's mouths back in the 70s and light them up like Christmas trees, trying to cure, you know, depression and mental illness.
Right.
I've taken shrooms, I've taken acid, never seen anything, never watched walls melt. And I understand DMT is a different substance, but they are both considered psychedelics.
Right. Well, they give it to people when you go to, like, I know people have gone to Peru and they've been in the mountains, and they give them ayahuasca or they give them DMT. And people there say they have experiences that are just overwhelmingly beautiful, and that there are beings that you see there. And you know, because they give you one tour without the ayahuasca or without the brew or the substance, and then they say for a little bit more money, we'll take you up higher, and you can also take this substance, and you'll certainly be there amongst the people and amongst the, I guess, the spirits of the area. So, you
know, Clyde, if I can jump in, there's a small portion of the population that psychedelics just doesn't affect.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a caller call into our show, and he was having trouble. He tried everything, LSD, mushrooms, DMT, and he just could not have an experience. I talked to him a little bit on Facebook, and I was going through some of his photos, and I realized that what he did for a living was he cut the copper wire on refrigerators. and he was breathing that in, and so there was something all that heavy metal in the brain, and once he detoxified himself, then he started having experiences.
Right.
So there's so many more factors than just sit down and take it. For most people, it's sit down and take it and you'll have an experience, but there's so many other factors.
Chris is pointing out something about mind control. I mean, what are the chances under the influence of DMT could people be controlled?
Well, I have to say, I wanted to jump in and say I do not think, based on my experience with DMT, and I've had experiences with both DMT and then the mentally ill themselves, and I will tell you that out of everything that I've ever heard of people using for depression or anxiety or things like that, DMT is the only thing that I can think of that exists in the world that can't be used for mind control, because it is so revealing about the self, and it's so revealing so instantaneously and so thoroughly and so great of an understanding of oneself that you can't use it for that.
Why are we giving this product to people who are depressed?
Well,
I mean,
it depends on what it is, Chris. I mean, Chris, I understand your anxieties and your problems with psilocybin, because we know that LSD and psilocybin, all those things, were used by the Nazis. They were used for mind control reasons.
Absolutely.
I think DMT is the new thing that I've never heard it being used for mind control.
Well, MAOI.
I would say though, if I can
had experience with methamphetamine, and I was mind controlled through methamphetamine.
Well, I could understand that.
Well, yeah, that's understandable.
But methamphetamine is not a hallucinogenic drug.
No. Methamphetamine is the opposite, though.
It's the opposite of DMT.
It's the complete polar opposite.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they were called
the machine
Elves
that you're talking about. One time.
Yeah.
But I mean, my experience once. I'll just give you a quick experience. I was at a hotel I'd been using. I was standing at the door there, and I could see my stepdaughter kneeling down holding a baby. Walk up to it, it turns into a pole. Walk back to my room, turn around, look at it, and it looks like my stepdaughter kneeling down holding a baby. I did this several times.
Right.
That's not a hallucinogenic. That's not hallucinating.
It felt real to you, right? It felt real.
It looked real. I'm not saying it felt real, but it looked real from standing in my room. But when I got up to it, it turned into a pole. This is back and forth. That's not hallucinating.
Right, and that means that.
And I am because of my drug use, I am now a targeted individual, and I've had to endure a lot of abuse because of this. And what I'm afraid of is this is going to become an MK Ultra.
So you think it's going to be abused? You think it'll be abused?
I do.
Okay.
Well, if I can chime in for a moment, I do want to say that
Ultra has a history.
We're just jumping in all over the place. Let's see. I'm looking at the time. Tell you what, Chris, why don't we go? We're gonna take a break. We're gonna go, and then you can keep listening to Christian and Cherie, and they'll comment about because you're bringing up some excellent points, and I know that we could. I was just getting really hot and heated, and I'm noticing the clock ticking down. Chris, thank you so much for your call. We'll have Christian Cherie comment on it after the break. Take care. Yeah, great call. Christian Cherie, Geo, talking about DMT, the Machine Elves. Amazing show. We're getting more phone calls, too. If you want to participate in the conversation, please do. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Wow. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Poor guy.
I know.
No one would ever give him DMT. No one would ever give that man DMT.
I was questioning myself about, I said, I don't know. Clyde asked me where to get DMT. I said, it's not for everybody.
Right. No, it's not for everybody. And that is a classic example of someone it's not for. And the reason why is because...
Truth Hip Hop Consciousness, thank you very much. I do want to chime in on it, though, because, they have tried to use psychedelics for mind control, but they failed. They realized that through their experimentation, they couldn't mind control people. LSD and psilocybin and things like that had the opposite effect. So they turned to psychotropic medications
and
for mind control.
And hardcore drugs like cocaine, methamphetamine, things like that.
Methamphetamine, as Emily Moyer points out, I was going to plug her. That didn't come out right.
I'll ask her if that came out right.
She's mentioned that methamphetamine can be programmable,
A programmable
matter,
substance.
a
Yeah.
programmable substance.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. It's an artificial substance, so absolutely it can be used as code. And then another point I wanted to make is that DMT isn't being used on schizophrenics, and it sounds like what he's talking about is the MK Ultra experiments that were done on schizophrenics. They now know that you never give schizophrenics hallucinogenic drugs. Ever. You never give a schizophrenic hallucinogenic drugs. That just would never be done. It's unethical. It would be unethical to even propose that. They have been giving it to people with depression because MAOIs were actually made from using the ayahuasca vine as an example. That's how they discovered and developed MAOIs, is through ayahuasca. So, yeah, and that's the most natural antidepressant there is the ayahuasca vine.
that's a good point.
And that's why...
We'll plug ILife.
Yeah, and that's why it's in ILI.
Do we still have the coupon code for Clyde?
I believe so. Let me check.
Okay.
That's 800-523-3771.
Thanks for reminding me.
523-3771.
Psychedelic drug known to man, it's in every single ecosystem all over the world. It exists in plants and grasses, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's really the craziest drug to be illegal everywhere because everyone's got it in their system. It's like everyone's holding. That was like Terence McKenna's line. Yeah. And it's pretty intense stuff, man. If you do it, you will talk to intelligent beings from other dimensions, for real. I mean, it sounds crazy. You would think that if there's something like that it would be on the front page. It's amazing that people don't know about it. I mean, it's the most incredible experience. I mean, we are such an experience-obsessed society. I mean, everybody wants to go whitewater rafting, and people want to talk about, my uncle climbed Mount Everest. All about
This was the clip that got me curious in DMT. Joe talking about that.
Smoke this little powder, and it will change the way you look at everything.
We don't care about UFOs. If a UFO landed right out there, I'd be like, wow, yeah, they're probably from another planet.
Can we buy MDMA? Yeah, as long as you can pay. $50, is that okay? Can we buy MDMA?
I guess in the beginning I just thought,
There we go. MDMA. It's going mainstream. This is great.
That's awesome.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. Christian Chirigio with us tonight on the show. So you guys want to comment on what Chris was saying, and then we'll get on to other calls?
Absolutely. As far as mind control goes, they did try LSD mind control. They tried psilocybin mind control. What they found is that it had the opposite effect. They couldn't mind control people with LSD and psilocybin. They were able to implant some thoughts here and there, but they found psychotropic medication to be the best, and things like methamphetamine to be an even more powerful tool for mind controlling people. But I do understand people's apprehension to this. And in the Amazon, you have two different plants. Like I said, you have the ayahuasca vine, which is called the healer plant. You have the chacruna, which is called the DMT containing plant. And a lot of people are apprehensive of THC because they don't like to get stoned either. But CBD has a really big benefit to it. So we created something called ILife. You had mentioned it before, ayalife.com. It's an infusion of CBD and the ayahuasca vine, both of the non-psychoactive components, for people like Chris and others who are apprehensive of these out-of-body and disconnected experiences that still offer the same amount of healing. And if you want to check out the site, ayalife.com, ayalife.com, and we have a buy one, get one free coupon for everybody out there on Ground Zero. Just type in Ground Zero, all lowercase, put 2468, 10 single bottles in your cart, and at checkout you'll get 50% off.
Fantastic. We're going to go to Derek now, calling you from Massachusetts. Hey, Derek, you're on Ground Zero with Christian Chirigio. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde.
Hey.
This is just a phenomenal show. Mind-blowing stuff. Really incredible.
Yeah,
and Kristen Tree, you guys are just great. Big fan of you guys.
Thank you.
I just want to piggyback off the last call real quick. So don't, and offer just one devil's advocate perspective, just throwing it out there. So don't get mad at me. There's a researcher, Dick Kahn, who wrote DMT in My Occult Mind. And his kind of claim to fame, I guess, is that he's taken 700 plus DMT experiences. And his conclusion that he's come to is that it's actually not taking him anywhere. It's actually bringing these entities to him. And what led him to that belief is that he took it, saw a UFO, like called a UFO, and then went inside, grabbed his sober family, and brought them out, and they also saw it. So he believes it's for the person using it, it's removing filters and showing you possibly more of a reality that's always there, like these elves that are always tinkering away in some reality.
Right.
But for other people, it's actually calling something to them, which potentially could add an MK Ultra element, some kind of traumatic experiences, because they say like set and setting is very important with these trips. So in one sense, it's like to have a shamanic sense, you can have a experience that does everything you're saying and really could heal somebody. But then in another sense, some kind of MK Ultra experimental torture could lead somebody to have dissociations, and with the entity contact could lead to all kinds of crazy.
You know, it brings up a good point, because another point would be if they did trials of DMT and they were to put people in rooms, for example, like a heated room or an uncomfortably heated room, would that change the journey, or would the journeys remain? I mean, and the idea that, like he said, you know, it draws the entities to you. It erases the boundary, erases the veil, so you can see it, but everybody else around you can see it too. It's just like when you guys had your similar experience with those those aliens with horns on them that were cussing you out. I mean, you guys were having that simultaneously, which is amazing. So, I mean, how do we explain that?
Well, when we had Dr. Strassman on way back a long time ago, one thing that I pointed out is that his studies, when he did the 7-year DMT study, he did it in a hospital setting. Mm-hmm. And what the caller had just pointed out is set and setting is very, very, very important.
Oh, yeah.
And when you asked me, you know, where can people find this? I said, you know, look up the reviews on some of these places in the Amazon and make sure you're going to the right ones, because there's some out there that are not of the highest standard or in highest quality. But set and setting is of the utmost importance. And so me personally, I do it just me and Cherie by ourselves, and that's it. But I don't want to give that advice out there for people out there. But in my opinion, if you want to avoid anything like that, sit down and listen to the plants, because the plants will tell you exactly what you need to know. If you have outside influences, yeah, absolutely, it could open doors for some kind of suggestion to be implanted.
Well,
but when you really know yourself and you know who you are, and you realize your own power within this matrix, you realize you are the creator of your own reality, and therefore all these other entities are actually lower entities rather than higher entities. And so you're not afraid of anything that exists beyond the veil, and you become the master of all realities.
Well, and using it, and the idea of using it malevolently through torture, in conjunction with torture to produce some kind of effect, I think it's far more likely that something like sound frequencies in conjunction with hardcore drugs like methamphetamine or cocaine, or something that speeds up the heart and causes a lot of fear and agitation, not the opposite, which is what DMT typically causes in high doses. And then if you use that in conjunction with torture, oh yeah, absolutely, then you get Astroworld.
Astroworld, you're right. That's interesting. Great comparison. Derek, anything else before we go?
Yeah, just one quick thought. To go on the Please Ingest Us thing you guys were talking about earlier. Elon Musk has talked about one time that perhaps humans are being used to like almost create technology. What about the idea that there's something like, what if these machine elves are, some type of entity on the outside of reality is communicating with us through these psychedelics to give us ideas, to give us ways to create technology, maybe for something that they might have their eyes set on,
Well, I had an experience I'd like to share on the other side.
There's got to be a reason why the CIA decided to create the First Earth Battalion, wanted to get into Project Stargate, wanting to expand the mind in the way they did. It's just some amazing history. And now here we are talking about UFOs and aliens many years after it's been in denial. It's kind of crazy the way things are changing. 503-225-0860. Chris and Cherie Geo with us tonight on Ground Zero. Have you seen the Machine Elves? We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
It's a great show.
This has been fantastic.
I wish we had more time to interact with the callers.
I know, me too. Some of them we can't even get a word in edgewise.
It's okay.
Just because of time.
Yeah, the time.
Time constraints, yeah. No, I know they're not doing it on purpose.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably
One thing I have to say, though, just between us and our BTV tribe, there's a lot of fear out there. And
it's sad.
It's a little disheartening.
It's sad
to hear so much fear.
We're typically not around that.
No.
Every day.
It's like we are on a different frequency. And so, I mean, my best friend here in Las Vegas, he has a history of schizophrenia in his family, so he won't do DMT. And I had the conversation with him. Do you have any history of schizophrenia in your family? Anything like that?
Yeah.
And all of that. But he's not afraid of it. Like oh my God, I could be mind controlled over it and everything like that.
He doesn't think you're going to torture him and use it on him.
Right. He's just like, no, I'm, and I said I wouldn't give it to you anyways. So,
And we're coming back around to the same old fear of these beings being summoned that you can't handle. And it's like, I've never had a being that I can't handle in an ayahuasca experience, and I don't. And the people that I associate with typically are so much in control of their consciousness that if they see a being they don't like, they banish it.
I mean, pretty much.
It's as simple as that.
I would love to be able to share some DMT experiences with Clyde, but the segments are
they're so short. Yeah.
But there was this one, to the caller's point, and maybe we'll get into this. There was this one experience, and I think you remember this. I encountered this triangular shaped being, and it was on top of a pyramid, and there was a bunch of Egyptian and Mayan symbolism floating around, and it locked into my pineal gland, and it started to give me information, and it was coming so quickly that it was like flipping a book, and you could see the chapters, but you can't see the actual information. And it was like, take it.
Yeah.
And it was the only experience where I actually had to get up and turn the music off because it was interrupting the flow of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I was downloading schematics for time travel. I was downloading schematics for free energy devices, all kinds of stuff like that. And it was like, take it, you'll know what to do with it later, you'll know what to do with it later. And still to this day, I don't know what that experience was all about. But it was interesting how that caller brought up, what if they're using us to make some kind of technology? And so, yeah, it can go both ways. It definitely can. That's why you have to master your consciousness. And that's also why this isn't really something for everybody. It's you have to seek it out. And I've realized doing shows like this on such a broad scale, yes, it is elevating the consciousness, but at the same time, it's one of those things that's hidden because you have to, part of attaining it is seeking it out and the desire to seek it out rather than it being presented right in your face. They don't come to you in 5th grade in the DARE program and say, this is DMT. They tell you this is what crack cocaine is, this is what heroin is. They present it to you all right there.
We want you to use this.
Yeah. This is the stuff that's hidden in the background that you have to seek out for yourself.
Right.
So,
this is the stuff that once you've done the mushrooms or once you've, graduated from LSD to, whatever, then you start wondering, is there a deeper level to this? And yes, that's the deepest it goes.
Ground Zero, talking about Terence McKenna's machine elves and DMT, the journey you take when you use this brew that enlightens some people, sometimes terrifies people, gives them advice. It's an interesting topic tonight, and we're glad to have them both on the show. Let's go to Kelly in Indiana. Hi, Kelly. You're on Ground Zero with Christian Cherie Gio. Go ahead.
Hi, Clyde. It's a pleasure to join this conversation. I'm just calling to validate your guest findings, actually. I'm known as Earth Song Lovecraft, and I'm a starseed. And we have learned through many different processes and experiences that this is just a way to open your pineal gland and see your higher self. And, we are our own judge, even at near-death experiences or when you actually die, you are your own judge. And you show yourself all of the things that you've done good or bad or whatever in your own opinion. Mm-hmm. And so when you're activating your pineal gland through the DMT, you're actually giving yourself lessons of how to improve the self and improve the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can confirm and concur that the experiences definitely depend on the level of your soul growth and the truth that you feel about yourself, or the true measurement of your worth and your good, such as your amount of shadow work or growth you've done on your own in your conscious life. And I just want to add to that also real quick that it's really a time of a true great awakening where we realize our true potential and remove the fears and the limitations, because we really can control this matrix that we're in. And we can take control of that and change our year zero of next year into something that we want instead of something that science is trying to push us towards, or black hats or government or whoever you want to blame
I really
it
think
on.
that we should make a conscious effort to ignore, or at least try to avoid, the trappings of the technocratic year zero that they want to put on us in 2022. And there are so many things that we've warned people about that are coming, and they are going to come. And in 2022 is going to be where people are definitely going to start losing faith unless they can grasp onto something more internal and more spiritual and more light-giving. So, Kelly, thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for this conversation.
You bet. Take care. Let's go to Bill in Colorado. Hi, Bill. You're on with Christian Sheree Geo. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde. Thanks for taking my call. Great topic tonight. This is a great show. I might be repeating a little bit of what you all said due to the delay, but I was going to bring up about the topic that you're bringing up, and is, to me, I read a lot about shamanism, and it's particularly shamanism as it goes all the way back, like to Siberia, and then has basically spread out through different cultures on the planet.
Right.
And the same idea of going under a ritualistic state, under some controlled substance, and then getting guidance for your group of people, whoever that may be. And I just wanted to comment on that and see what y'all think of that, if we're talking about the same thing here.
Chris, Sheree, you want to comment on that?
I think that's, it depends. I've always been apprehensive of groups because groups can lead to cults. And so I see both sides of the coin here, and I completely understand that. It depends. My advice on Beyond the Veil has always been, do it with somebody that you know, somebody that you trust, a spouse, a sibling, somebody like that, or do it with a trained shaman that has a really good reputation. But when you're talking about groups, again, if you're talking about those groups of people that are really close to you, then yes, absolutely. If you're talking about groups in terms of Jim Jones, then no, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, culty stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that distinction for the audience.
If it tastes like grape Kool-Aid, avoid it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Texas, hi, you're on Christian Sheree Geo.
Hi, yes. Thanks for taking my call. Christian Sheree, I had a question. This is actually kind of a weird synchronicity. I've done some research on this for a while now, and I found a gentleman. He's a British gentleman, and they do like a clinic where they actually monitor your all your vitals, everything like that, and they give you DMT for extended amounts of time, not like days or anything, but it's like several hours. So instead of getting the normal kind of shorter experience, you actually are able to exist in that other plane for quite some time. But I guess I'm just wondering, if I do decide, I actually am wanting to have that experience. So, I mean, is it safe? As long as I kind of prepare spiritually through, meditation, prayer, different things, and then do it by myself. I've done psilocybin mushrooms, Amanita scarias, the different, types of mushrooms, and never had a problem. Always had a great experience,
right?
And usually done by myself. I was just wondering if this is, especially as a first timer, is this okay for something?
I mean, I think you know the answer to that, and nobody can tell you the answer to that except yourself.
Right.
But if you've had that much experience and you're not taking anything else that might interact with like an MAOI, or if you're doing the vaporized version that doesn't include an MAOI, you should be fine, especially if you start with just one hit. and you see what that feels like. 3 to 4 hits, that's when you're going to be out of body in hyperspace. The good thing about DMT is it only lasts about 10 minutes.
Right.
So even if you freak out, you're only freaking out for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's it. And by the time you come back, you're like, oh, okay.
It's not even long enough for an ambulance to get there.
I'm not enjoying it. 10 minutes is a long time.
It can feel like a long time. Yes, but
if I'm going to crash this thing, I want to crash it on my own terms. That's the way I feel.
That is true. There also are ketamine clinics out there.
Yeah.
And everybody from little old ladies to psychonauts go to ketamine clinics. That it sounds very similar. I'm glad to hear that there's DMT clinics that are doing the same thing.
yeah.
But you have a doctor that actually administers this to you through an IV and gives you however much you want. So little old ladies will go in there for pain relief. Other people will go in there for deeper spiritual experiences with ketamine. And if they do the same thing with DMT, I would say that's probably the best way to do it, because you're in a situation where you control how much you get.
The hard part is finding a doctor that's willing to do it for you. That's what I think.
In the States, I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible.
I'm with Christian Street Geo. You got about a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, Clyde, real quick. First of all, I've only been back in the States for a couple months. I've been overseas for a long time, but I have experience doing psychedelics. I've had positive experience with DMT. My question for your panel is years ago I had a few issues with the sleep paralysis. The ancients used to call it the succubus.
Right.
Is there any relation to is the chemical DMT have anything to do with that experience? Has science ever nailed that one down?
Sleep paralysis and DMT. Anyone want to take that on?
I have never heard of any connection, but I am familiar with sleep paralysis. And it's an interesting phenomenon, but
I don't think the two are connected.
Unfortunately, DMT hasn't been studied that long. It's only been studied 7 years by Dr. Strassman.
Yeah.
But if DMT is released in the body during dream time, and if sleep paralysis happens during dream time, we could be looking at maybe effective only in the dream time state, Henry. That's the thing, is that it doesn't cause sleep paralysis, but within that state, you may be experiencing the full effects of DMT, and this is why people see their ghosts and they see their hat men and they see their dark entities, because the dream time experience.
Until the last experience was positive.
Well, if you're consciously using DMT and you know where you're going with your trip, I don't think that you're going to be having these experiences. But during sleep, the DMT can do all types of things to you when you're dreaming. So I'll tell you what, Christian Cherie, this has been one of the best shows I've had in a long time. Very informative. Where do we go to find you?
TFRlive.com.
Okay. And how do we hear about Aya Life?
Oh, AYALife.com. Thank you very much, Clyde. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, it's amazing. This is an amazing show. Couldn't have asked for a better show, especially at Christmas time where we're all looking for those elves, wherever they may be. Thank you both for being on the program.
Thanks, Clyde. Keep on Code Ground Zero.
You bet. Thank you so much. And on Beyond Zero coming up. Stay tuned with more right here on Aftermath.fm and beyond. We'll be back.
All right.
Perfect. That was a great show. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right.
We're gonna
you guys are going to get a treat tonight.
It was great.
000. I'm Clyde. Lewis.
I'm Wes. Ron Patton.
What a great show.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well.
Amazing show.
We got.
In fact, it's so good we kept them over to hang out with us.
Are they here, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You guys still there?
Ron, what's up, my brother?
Hello.
Just hanging out.
Good.
So I just saw a headline that's really, this is something that, I think is hilarious. Why Tom Holland and Zendaya are saying that they don't want any Spider-Man sex scenes. In the new Spider-Man movie, they say nobody wants to see Tom Holland or nobody wants to see Peter Parker having sex. Well, that's not it. I mean, if Spider-Man has sex, I can just imagine what he does. He probably spins a web around the person and then injects them with venom, and then he basically fucks them.
Yep.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
I don't know.
No, you got a good point there,
Well,
Clyde.
they usually keep it pretty clean. I think the most risque Marvel got was the first Iron Man.
But see, I always thought, and Christian Street, correct me if I'm wrong, I know this is going to sound gross, and I don't know how you heard say this, but maybe I remember an animator telling me this. The whole idea of squirting shit out of your wrist,
yeah,
it is like the idea of squirting, you know what, out of your dong.
I was actually thinking that when you mentioned that, I was like, the facials on that show wouldn't be too good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the only one, because it's like, that's what it is. I mean, because Peter Parker got bit by a spider, right?
Right.
And then what? He goes through puberty, and so he realizes that he can squirt shit out of his wrists.
Yeah. Well, after he's penetrated by the spider.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like when you're a teenager and you're experimenting with your little penis, and all of a sudden you realize, what's that shit that just shot out of my dick? What is that?
Penetration.
No
breathing.
No.
You just brought a whole new perspective to the table, Clyde.
Yeah,
I never really thought of Spider-Man as the adolescent's journey, you know? But
this summer,
well, hell,
Peter Parker has wrist cum.
Wrist cum. Wrist cum.
Rated PG-13 for some reason.
Cherie, this is what we do when
That
we're
poor
like,
little girlfriend of his. That's all I'm thinking is that poor little girlfriend of his. She's swinging along by that stuff going, yay! Has no idea.
Like Peter Parker porn. Come here, Mary. I'm going to squirt something in your face.
Uh-huh.
Shot
Let's
out of my
swing
wrist.
for my cum.
oh, she's filthy, man. I didn't warn you guys.
It's a little sticky. It reminds me of that Lone Ranger story, or Lone Ranger and Tonto. We're like riding along, and Tonto puts his ear to the ground. He goes, Kimosabi, buffalo cum. He goes, "No, sticky to my ears." Okay, right off the bat,
that was the last time.
That was the last time Christian Chirichio showed up.
Exactly.
We're getting all serious now. We're just talking about whether or not Peter Parker uses his wrist cum.
Yeah, I told you when we have company on, you got to keep it professional.
You have to preface it, Clyde.
But they're Christian Cherie. We can be whatever.
Oh yeah, you can be whatever.
No, I love it.
We love it.
We're like this during our after hours as well too, and it kind of shocks people. And they're like, "Hey, wait a second, why are you having a beer? How dare you have a beer on air?"
How can you have a beer?
I know.
What are you do ayahuasca on your show? Do it now. I want to see the elves. God damn it!
My favorite is people call in and they think that this is a radio. I'm like, you can't say fuck on the radio.
Well, we don't.
Like,
talk
and
on,
you
this
just
is the
said
radio.
it.
This is the internet,
Yeah.
and we can get naked, and we are actually naked right now.
No, fun fact: Clyde actually took his shirt off one time.
I did one time
for Ron's birthday.
For Ron's birthday.
So I could suck his boobies.
At the very beginning of this, I told Cherie, I said, we need to do a segment called News in the Nude. And she's like, I'm not doing news in the nude. I'm like, Cherie, it's radio. You don't actually have to be nude, okay? It's just the whole idea of it. And she's like, I'm not doing that.
I'm so autistic that I'm like thinking.
YouTube allows nudity now.
Oh, does it? Well, I'm just gonna say
it's the darndest thing, but they allow it.
You guys do video, and I can say, Cherie's easy on the eyes, so I don't think anybody would complain.
There you go. I don't think she would do it on video though.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it nowadays.
Consider it art.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm not really easy on the eyes. We all know that, right? We all know that, I'm a hairy, scary guy, and if I took my shirt off, everybody would probably like immediately freak out.
Oh, yeah.
And they do ayahuasca just to get it out there.
Deal with the trauma.
Get the ayahuasca out.
Also, gotta do some DMT to forget the memory of seeing you take your shirt off, swing around your head.
Right.
Well, I think you were doing a karaoke song or something. I just remember it being Ron's birthday, and
Was
my
I singing
eyes caught
Happy
on
Birthday,
fire.
Mr. President, or
something like that?
I must have been on.
It was
something.
on video too. It was we were just starting to do on Beyond Zero.
Was
we
I like
we had
all,
the video camera?
Was I like all drugged up or soming that
No,
night?
you're just naturally weird.
Back from the
dude.
dentist or something.
You're just naturally weird.
It's in the archives of Facebook.
Speaking of weird stuff, naturally weird.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I found something on the internet that just cracked me up, and I tried to share it. And Wes said it's
not
old
porn,
thing.
is it?
Oh, kind of is. It's turtle porn.
Oh, you're kidding.
Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtles fucking. Listen to this.
Turn it up.
I am. What the fuck? That's a turtle. That's what turtles sound like when they fuck.
With kids in the background.
The kids are saying, "Mommy, what's that turtle doing?"
Oh, they're wrestling.
Fucking on the hat.
It kind of sounds like me after the 4th round.
Poor
No,
turtle.
but I mean, it makes sense. I think that's how a turtle would sound.
Well, yeah. I mean, I never thought a turtle would sound like that. So we go from Spider-Man having sex to turtles having sex. What do you want to add to the show, Cherie? What do you want to add to the show, Chris?
It reminds me of this George Carlin bit. You drive like old people fuck, slow and sloppy. I don't know why. And then the thought of Clyde in a jacket with boxers on doing a radio show too, and then turtles fucking in the background. I'm gonna have the weirdest DMT trip.
Yeah, we're gonna have the weirdest DMT trip.
I thought turtles lay. Well, I guess I don't know.
Sea turtles do. That's their thing. Is they lay the eggs and then they go bye.
Maybe
Good luck.
maybe this turtle's like oversexed or
Thanks
something.
for the memories.
Maybe like Billie Eilish. You watched too much porn when he was a kid. Maybe that 150 years ago.
I always thought the videos of them fucking were fake. I thought, or just like one of them was just on top of the other one and just happened to be making noises.
There's got to be a reason why these turtles lay eggs. I mean, did the turtle fertilize the egg or something? It's like, I mean, I used to watch Gamera on TV, those Japanese shows, and I never saw Gamera have sex. So, yeah, I never saw Spider-Man have sex either. Although I do remember a time, guys, I knew an animator who did the old original Spider-Man cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, and this is the truth, he says, if you go back, they may not be able to find it now, but he says back in the day when they did those old Spider-Man cartoons, he worked in the animation bay, and the animators would try and get things past the censors. And he said there was one time where Spider-Man, the cartoon, is going through the city, spinning his webs with his dick hanging out of his leotard. Seriously.
Is that from the 60s one?
Yeah.
We're going to have to
Spider-Man
Spider-Man
doing whatever a spider can.
We're going to have to check it out.
You see that in Disney movies all the time, and you wonder, is that part of some kind of mind control agenda, like YouTube is saying, or YouTube used to say before it was censored, or is it the animators just trying to take the piss?
Well, I know the guy, Bill Morrison, who drew the Phallus in the Palace.
Nice.
Yeah, he draws for The Simpsons now, but he used to draw for Disney, and he drew the Little Mermaid, Phallus in the Palace thing. And the thing is that he said he had a deadline that he had to do, and so he was drawing all these spires in the palace and everything else. And he said he didn't know that there was the spires. He didn't even think about it. The spires looked like a penis. And he said, and then one day he went to church. And he said these little old ladies were. This little old lady was doing a Sunday school class where she's saying, look what they're doing at Disney. They're drawing penises in the Little Mermaid poster. And he saw that. He goes, holy shit, I drew that. So he had to go back and redo it again. But yeah, he's drawn for The Simpsons. He did Roswell, the Little Green Man, that little comic book. That was really awesome. He did that. And but yeah, I saw him in Roswell, and he told me the story. It was hilarious. I've known Bill for a little while.
I'm sure there's subliminals, though, in comic books.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
I know there was this Christian cult called The Family.
Yeah.
Or the Children of God.
Yeah.
If you look at some of their comic books, really risque and a lot of subliminals.
Do you know what show, if you really want to see, besides SpongeBob, you want to watch Teen Titans Go? That show is loaded with all kinds of lines and whatever that have double entendres and stuff. And I don't know if the kids pick up on it, but I pick up on it when I watch it. Because sometimes, I watch I don't watch the Cartoon Network as much as I used to, because Family Guy was on late at night and I'd watch it before I go to bed. And so I'd wake up in the morning and either we have the Gumball, the Adventures of Gumball, or we have something else on the screen. But it was always Teen Titans Go. For some reason, they play like 10, 15 Teen Titans Go. And I noticed that they use a lot of innuendo in Teen Titans. So
I had my niece over a couple weeks ago, and she's in the back seat watching something on YouTube, and I'm hearing, "We're in a simulation. They're trying to break down the simulation. We got to get the codes. We got to do this. We got to do that." And I'm like looking back, and it's like all our Beyond the Veil material. And I'm looking back, and I'm like, "What are you watching?" And apparently, some kids show about them being trapped in a simulation, and they've got to escape from this virus that's entered the simulation and deprogram and reset the matrix. And I'm like, wow.
Programming for kids. Hey, have you seen, and I don't know if you guys watched this. I know that I've encouraged my staff to watch this, Inside Job. Have you seen that yet?
I watched the first 2 episodes.
Isn't it amazing?
Brilliant. The guys in front of the White House yelling, the president is a robot, and there's reptilians and this and that. The daughter picks him up. He's like, Dad, you're going to bring down the deep state.
My favorite thing is when Mothman comes in and he says, "Hello, I'm Mr. Mothman, and I am indeed a Mothman." I'm just like laughing my ass off because he's got that really, you can tell it's a black dude trying to be sounding all, like white. And he's like, "I am indeed a Mothman."
Well, that one character, she's like, I personally had everybody surveil themselves with the selfie. And I was like, oh my God, that's freaking brilliant.
It is great. That's the most brilliant. If anybody has a sense of humor about conspiracy theory, that's the cartoon you got to watch, because that is just, I think it's done by the guys. What's the name of that show that they used to do kind of conspiracy theory? Something Flats. No, what is it? Oh God, I can't remember the name.
I just loved how they confirmed every single conspiracy theory except for flat Earth.
Oh, they've talked about flat Earth.
No, but they confirmed all of them. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They made fun of flat Earth. That was the thing.
Oh, okay. I thought that they created flat Earth. I thought the company created flat Earth. Didn't they?
No, I just remember the creators of the show.
Oh, well, I always thought that the company that woman works for, I can't remember the name of the company, they did create flat Earth, but it didn't work or something. I can't remember what they did.
But the Earth that they're on isn't a flat Earth.
No,
that's what I'm saying. Is that the show accepts every single conspiracy theory, but when it comes to flat Earth, like it's round. They're fucking idiots. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I'm like that too. It's like I did one flat Earth show, and then to come, and this is how I am, right? As cynical I am, is that after I do the flat Earth show, and people, and I kind of said this is nuts. I turned around and I said, but I think the Earth is geoidal. I was like, what the fuck is geoidal? It's shaped like a fucking pear. It's shaped like a flattened basketball. That's what Earth is shaped like. That's why some people think it's flat, because some people look at the flattened part of the basketball. They're not looking at the whole basketball. They're looking at the flattened part of the basketball, right? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, because
yeah,
because there are sides of the basketball that are a little bit more flat.
Right, and so that means that we live on a geoidal planet. So it's geoidal Earth. And
Geoidal?
Geoidal. It's Goidal. Geoidal.
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 Yeah, geoidal.
Talking about
Geoidal.
the Jews.
Yeah.
It's another safe word that we need to work on with the ball gag. It's You're in the middle. Don't hurt me.
What are your safe words?
A turtle's humping. You're going, You're going,
Safe word. Safe word.
Is it even real though? Is the geoidal Earth even real? Are we in a simulated reality where it could be flat, it could be round, it could be geoidal, it could be ovoid?
It could be flat,
depending on the
violet sky. It could be hurtful. It could be purple.
Have you guys seen 12-Ounce Mouse?
What's that?
Oh man, this was a cartoon that came out on Adult Swim back in 2005. And it's just weird. It's drawn with crayons. It's completely and totally nonsensical. We were going to do a show about this, so spoiler alert, guys out there, if you haven't seen it. But essentially, it's this mouse, and it's just these little 10-minute episodes that don't seem to make any sense. You get to the 13th season, it's the reveal that he's inside of a simulation, and he actually wakes up from the simulation. Then he's pushed back into the simulation. Then in 2020, they release a whole nother season. And in the season, they go into multiverses. They go into multiple simulations. The bad guys are trapped inside of the simulation with the good guys. The bad guys are trying to use the good guys to escape the simulation, and there's so much in it that looking at this really childish looking cartoon that makes no sense whatsoever, and that has such a deep meaning to it, I was just blown away. And so
you guys are going to be jumping out of your skin when Matrix Resurrection comes out, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for that one. I have a theory on that one. You see the blue symbolism.
What's going to happen?
I think the blue symbolism. Okay, you keep on seeing that the doctor's wearing the blue glasses. You see blue all over in the background. Mm-hmm. The Matrix was green, and the machine world was more of a red color, in the gray color. So I think Neo is in his own simulation, because at the end of the Matrix series, what happened is Neo was taken off into by the machines, and I think he was plugged into an individual Matrix. And I think what the story is going to be about is him being plugged back in, then going into Trinity's Matrix, trying to wake Trinity up. Then they're going to try to get back to the Matrix and then back to the real world. But I think at the end of the day, it's a Matrix inside of a Matrix inside of a Matrix. So I don't think they ever left the Matrix at all.
Wow.
Interesting.
They fooled them.
I picked up on that when I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, he's wearing blue glasses. And the blue pills have now kind of been upgraded a bit.
Well, he tried to take a lot of blue pills. It's kind of like,
he's dumping them all out. That's his medication.
Like your depression, to take the blue pills and keep you.
Also, I liked how they used White Rabbit. And I don't know if you remember, Clyde, but one of my first montages I made for you, I took White Rabbit and I slowed it down and I put the Matrix underneath it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So that made me happy.
Stole it from you. We should sue them.
That was a great song. I've never heard that song until the trailer came out.
Yeah, after all, Wes is now Employee of the Year.
Yes, I deemed him the other day as
the only employee of
for
Ground Zero. We gave him Employee of the Year.
Well, apparently the fans are responding to the montages.
Oh, they're great. They were fucking great tonight.
And
They were
Wes
awesome.
did survive COVID too. He had COVID.
That this year we give him props because he survived COVID.
And you told me, Clyde, you said some of my best montages were
When you were
while
on
I
COVID.
had COVID. So we'll have to go back and play those at the end of the year.
Because what kind of cough syrup were you taking at the time? Like, were you roboing it? You know, you had a
I think
robo.
it was just like Winco brand NyQuil.
Oh, so you're Wincoing it. Dirty Winco stuff.
Honestly, NyQuil didn't do as well against that as just taking regular Tylenol. Tylenol did better.
I don't know. NyQuil is better when it's mostly alcohol and acetaminophen. Because I remember I used to take it, killed my cough right off the bat. But you know what works? Tom Ka. I swear to God. People tell me. I remember some guy chewed my ass out once because I said, "You know what's going to kill COVID? Tom Ka." You still go around telling people that Tom Ka is a cure for COVID. But you know what?
With some kimchi.
With some kimchi and some Tom Ka, man, you're set. Yeah. First of all, you have Tom Ka. It kills everything inside you. You take kimchi and it kills their breath and everything else. So people around you don't want to come near you.
Probiotics right there, bro.
Right. So probiotics and Tom Ka.
Yeah.
That's all you need, man. I mean, I had some tickle in my throat the other day and I said, "Get me some Tom Ka." I had Tom Ka. Killed it right
Plus, you've been snorting that powdered cheese.
Oh, well, no. I've been doing moon cheese. I'm doing moon cheese
You
now.
crush it up and you've been snorting it. I saw it.
That's a good idea. I had to crush up moon cheese and it would make that one. See, Christian, sure, you don't know this, but I believe next to Novocaine, one of the best inventions ever made was Kraft macaroni and cheese
you're out of your
powder.
mind, man.
It was. It is.
I don't agree.
It turns.
I do not agree.
It makes a meal out of macaroni. Otherwise, in the Depression, it only cost a nickel to make Kraft macaroni and cheese, and they could feed a family of 5 with that one packet of cheese powder and a whole pot of macaroni.
Garbage, though. Didn't we read the ingredients?
Don't care. It's a great invention.
No.
Come on. What do you think Chris Sherry, what do you think the greatest invention that's ever happened is? I mean, Novocaine for me is number 1. Number 2 is Kraft macaroni and cheese powder. What's the other?
I don't know. I have to quote Donnie Darko. Soap.
That's what I said. That's exactly what I said when Clyde brought that up a couple weeks ago. I was like, Donnie Darko said it was soap.
Yep. Well, soap.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
I have to agree.
Number 3, soap. Soap, right? What would be number 4? Number 4.
No.
How about
Natural.
doors that open automatically when you go to the store? Wouldn't that be a good invention? No?
Maybe.
And then, of course, the car. And then,
Vibrators that sing, "Oh Come All You Faithful." I stole that from George Carlin.
Seasonal.
Bongs. Wouldn't they work? They work. Bongs.
Bongs. You don't need a bong.
Vapes. They would be a great invention, right?
I've been vaping for 6 years, haven't smoked cigarettes. I love it.
I mean, the personal computer should probably be up there, but what do I know?
Can I ask why vape people? They're just so pretentious sometimes, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm sitting in my car, and I see this huge fucking cloud that looks like a chemtrail coming out of a car, and I'm thinking, that's so fucking pretentious. Why don't you just smoke a little, let it out, be a little cool? But no, it's like, it's like everywhere. There's smoke everywhere. It's so goddamn pretentious.
I hate when people vape and they have like the really strong stuff that still has the nicotine on the exhale.
Yeah.
And they blow it in your face. It's like, could you not do that? It's just steam, man.
No, we don't do that. But I've seen these freaking people that do it on YouTube, and they do like these challenges on who can do the biggest vape exhale and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But
like
no.
they're walking smokestacks.
Yeah, but no, for me, vaping is like having your cake and eating it too. And it tastes like cake too, so that's a double plus good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I used to do.
You get it. Yes.
I used to do
double
hookah.
plus good, eh?
I used to go to this place.
Yeah.
Have you ever done hookah?
Oh, yeah.
Have you done hookah?
Yeah.
Of course.
Stuff is good.
Hookah's fun.
Because they layer it. They put different types of
and the tobacco's pure and it tastes good and it's steam and you get high.
Whatever.
Yeah. You get high off the tobacco because it doesn't have crap in it. Yeah, I used to go to this place. It was this Arabic Egyptian food place, and they had the greatest food. And it's like, you go there like you're at the Palace in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they come out and they open up the guts and there's spiders everywhere, and never mind. It was good food. Hookah.
The
monkey brain.
I showed that clip to someone who's from that region of the world, and said that people are offended by it now. And she watched it. And she goes, clearly they're underneath some kind of a magical spell, and that's why they're eating all that disgusting food. She's like, why are people offended by this? And I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, the monkey brain. That's the thing.
Chilled a monkey brain.
Chilled monkey brain.
You know that monkey brain thing, though? I don't know. Is that a real thing? Because I heard that whole Faces of Death thing was all staged.
Faces of Death. That was the worst thing in my experience.
That was staged, though, wasn't it?
The monkey dying?
Yeah.
It fucking harmed me. It killed me when I was a kid. I was watching that going, are you kidding me?
No, I think they staged that, and they used Jello and stuff like that.
They used Jello.
And that affected me when that monkey was killed. The other thing is blood-sucking freaks. You can't sit through that movie without barfing. Let's go down to Peter in Utah. You're on with Christian Chirigio. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I kind of missed half of that show. I'm really glad to be here, so I have a chance to ask your guest this question.
Sure.
It was New Year's Eve 2012, whole Mayan calendar, thing. Well, me and my buddies dropped LSD. I've never had this happen to me ever before. But me and my late best friend were all of a sudden at one point able to telepathically communicate with one another, and we were sending pictures in our mind's eye back and forth, and the emotions associated with whatever we were imagining, and there was just so much information flowing back and forth. It was just amazing experience. It went on for hours and hours and hours, and even continued into the next week.
Wow.
So it kind of stuck with me, which is kind of strange. And I am just wondering, is that, for me, that's not common. But I don't know if do your guests have any opinion?
Well, I mean, Cherie and I, when we are really getting into hyperspace together, we do become telepathic. And I'll just sit there and I'm like, you want McDonald's French fries, don't you? And she's like, how'd you know? And I'm like, because I'm freaking picking up on everything that you're feeling right now, all right? Stop craving McDonald's French fries, okay? Stop eating that crap. But anyways, my point is, though, that, yeah, when you start to do these psychedelic experiences, especially with somebody you're really connected to, there's this difference. There's twin flames, which are like, one unit, and then there's soulmates. And we all have different soulmates, and they can be male, female. They're just people that are just part of your soul tribe. And when you connect with one of them on that psychedelic level, you can become telepathic with them. They actually call DMT telepathy.
I was just about to say that, but we share a brain, so you said it for me.
Yeah. So it is pretty common.
So you guys could probably pilot one of those big robots against those kaijus if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
Sure, we'll roll
what
with
he's
it.
talking about. We'll just roll with it.
Pacific Rim. What?
Remember?
Oh, Pacific.
I haven't seen Pacific Rim.
Yeah, definitely. Well, soulmate actually really that word really resonates because me and him, there was just something else. I have never had a relationship like that ever, and when he passed, it was like. Yeah.
So now that he's passed, do you still have, though? I mean, since you connected so well, do you think you still have that connection after he passed away?
Okay, so surprisingly enough, he has come and initiated contact when I'm dreaming.
Right.
And I remember just a few days after he passed away, I was having this dream, and he walks through this doorway. It's just a regular house, regular room. I hadn't been in this place before. I didn't recognize it, just random dream stuff.
Right.
But he's in this doorway, and I go up to him. I'm like, oh, my God. We hug. Instantly, we become just pure light.
Wow.
He became light first, and it was his light radiated into me, and we just became one entity. And in that moment, it just shared just a perfection of kind of everything.
Love and friendship, yeah.
Really kind of, said goodbye to me in that moment.
That's a great story.
Wow. Yeah, it was.
Gave me chills.
Yeah, it was really intense, and
chills. Got chills.
So yeah,
I got chills, and I'm wearing a hoodie. I mean, that's such a great story. I'm supposed to be warm, then I got all chilled up.
I do have. This is a separate note.
Yeah.
Completely different. But I am. So I would consider myself probably a contactee based on experiences that have happened since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I have just this last year. I don't know what it is, but actually the last 2 years, activity has been ramping up, and I have got collected quite a little list of videos. If you would like me to send those to you,
send them to Ron, and we'll review them. You either send them to groundzeropdx@yahoo.com or groundzeroron@gmail.com.
Hold on, I'm so sorry. 1 second, I wasn't ready.
Okay, I'm
Sitting
sorry.
on my bed.
We're running out of time, so I got to make it quick.
Okay. All right.
groundzeropdx@yahoo.com. That's mine. And then groundzeroron@gmail.com.
groundzeroron@gmail.
Gmail, yeah. And then we'll go over them and look at them, and we'll give you some commentary. And if something we'll use, we'll give you a call. Give us your number, and we'll call you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for calling. Let's do a quick shout out to Uncle Victor.
Hey, how you doing? You know what? It's probably no surprise that to you guys that I've done some LSD.
I know. You
I
used
would
to
be
work in the
surprised.
loony bin.
Did you work in the loony bin?
Yeah, right.
That's hardcore.
Could you like crawl the walls like Spider-Man and maybe squirt some wrist cum?
Well, it came out of my feet, though.
It came out of your seat.
Feet.
Ew.
Oh, you shoot feet cum out of your toes.
And I get it in my nose.
Oh, God.
Oh. It's called athlete's foot.
Oh, no. How are your toenails, Uncle Vic? Are they like old man's toenails?
My eyes.
Nice and crunchy.
Crunchy and black?
Okay, that's enough of that.
Feed him to the dog.
I'm turning off the calls.
Poor Wes. All right, Victor. Thank you. Chris and Sheree, it was fun having you on our
On Beyond Zero.
Our 20 minutes, 30 minutes jerking off.
It's our naughty show.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
You guys are amazing, and we'll have you on again for
We
sure.
love you guys.
Love you guys. Take care.
You got to come on their show, dude.
I should.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
I said to Clyde during the break, I was like, you know what DMT sounds like? It sounds like Spice from Dune.
Oh, the melange.
It is.
They call it Spice.
They call it Spice.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're on to something, Wes.
So I know fake weed is called Spice on the street because
Yeah.
it's like Frank Herbert's.
It's like Old Spice. You rub it on your body and smell good. You rub it.
Yeah, that's Old Spice. That's not
Yeah.
Spice.
You smell like a perverted grandpa. If you wear that shit. Anyway, good night, guys. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Good night. So we've hit
Anyway.
the 4 hour and 33-minute mark.
Yes.
And
beautiful.
we have 333 people watching. So
Oh, that's
I think
gorgeous.
that's a sign from the
Perfect.
Matrix that
Perfect time.
it's time to kiss the one you love right now, because you never know when the last time is going to be. I don't know how long we're going to keep this episode on YouTube for. So if you want to catch the full show, it's over at patreon.com/BTVTribe. It is 4 hours and 33 minutes. And we'll probably cut the majority out. So kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. And we'll see you even further.
Beyond the Veil.
Thank you very much to Steph and to Ron Patton and to Clyde Lewis and Wes too. I've never touched bases with Wes before, but it was nice to hang out with everybody. Love you
That's
guys
so
and gals, and see you very soon.
Beyond the Veil.
Love you.
Love you guys.